On the night of 31st March 1910, around 11, Sri Aurobindo finally boarded the steamship Dupleix at Chandapal Ghat, Calcutta. He was accompanied by Bijoy Nag. The next morning, the Dupleix steamed out of Calcutta harbour and entered the open sea. 4 days later, on Monday, the 4th of April, about 4 p.m., the Dupleix anchored in Pondicherry harbour. After tea on board the ship, Sri Aurobindo and Bijoy were escorted from the beach to Shankar Chettiar's house at Rue des Commentis. Kalve Shankar Chettiar was a wealthy and important citizen of Pondicherry who had generously made his house available for Sri Aurobindo. Suresh, also known as Moni, whom Sri Aurobindo had chosen to precede him, had reached Pondicherry 4 days earlier. His task was to make the necessary arrangements for Sri Aurobindo's stay, with the help of the Tamil freedom fighters, the Deshabandhus from Madras Presidency, who had settled in Pondicherry. Prominent among them were VVS Iyer, Subramanya Bharati, Srinivasachari, Tirumalachari, Rangachari, Kasturi, Krishnaswamy, and others. They were known as the India Group, as one of their open activities was the publication of the popular Tamil journal India, with Subramanya Bharati as editor. The India office was situated on Rue Val-d'Avour. Together, they had succeeded in persuading Shankar Chettiar to offer his house for Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo, Bijoy Nag, and Suresh Chandra Chakravarti were lodged on the second floor of this house. In October 1910, Sri Aurobindo moved to Sundar Chetty's house on Rue du Pavillon in the French quarters in the southern part of the town. In April 1911, Sri Aurobindo moved from Sundar Chetty's house to Raghavan House in Rue Saint-Louis. In April 1913, financial stringency obliged Sri Aurobindo to move from Raghavan House to a much smaller house with a tiled roof on Mission Street, which was then called Rue des Missions Étrangères. In October 1913, Sri Aurobindo rented a house in Rue François Martin, which later came to be known as the Guest House. Sri Aurobindo stayed here until October 1922.
The momentous meeting of Meera and Sri Aurobindo took place on Sunday, the 29th of March, 1914.
It soon became clear that, as a French citizen, Meera would have to return to France due to government regulations which came into force during the war. In 1915, Meera's birthday, 21st February, was celebrated modestly. The next day, she left for France. Around 8:30 on the morning of 24th April 1920, the Dupleix anchored off the port of Pondicherry. That very day, the mother met Sri Aurobindo in the same house that they had first met on 29th March 1914.
In Vedic times, Rishi Agastya came down to the south and spread the Vedic culture from a center of learning that grew into Vedapuri, the city of the Vedas. Sri Aurobindo too set up his cave of Tapasya here, on the very spot where Agastya had built his Jnana Pitha, a permanent seat of divine consciousness to emanate a new light. He dug deep into the abyss of the subconscient, going even deeper into the very core of the inconscient, to manifest upon earth the supreme light and truth and force.
यातजिषुः शिवतमा शिवं बभूवते धनुः